The first thing he noticed that morning was that the coffee machine was making a sound like it was questioning the meaning of its own existence, which, in fairness, wasn't unusual. On orbital salvage station K742, everything eventually developed some kind of emotional crisis. The artificial gravity generator had been sulking since last Tuesday. The comms panel refused to acknowledge messages from anyone who hadn't paid it a compliment, and the air recycling unit had once locked itself for 3 hours because someone called it basic. He floated half a centimeter above the graded floor, boots magnetized just enough to pretend gravity still had authority here, and tapped the coffee machine twice. "Don't start," he muttered. The machine responded by dispensing a liquid that could legally qualify as a lubricant in 3 systems and a biohazard in 2. He drank it anyway. Because that's what you did in deep orbit when your job was turning dead satellites into spare parts, and your only companion was a station AI that communicated mostly in passive-aggressive beeps. The AI beeped at him now. Yeah, he said, wiping his mouth. "I saw the maintenance report. Hull integrity spiritually declining. Very helpful." Another beep, longer this time. "What do you mean, something approaching?" "We're in a junk field. Everything is approaching something. That's kind of the business model." The screen flickered. A radar feed sharpened, lazy at first, then snapping into focus like it had just remembered it was supposed to be important. There was a pod, not debris, not wreckage, a pod. It drifted through the field like a thought that had gotten lost on its way to being reasonable. He frowned. "Okay," he said slowly. "That's either a refugee capsule, a classified military drop, or someone's very expensive mistake." The AI beeped twice. He liked to think it meant probably all 3. He pushed off the console and floated down the corridor, kicking lightly against the walls to gain speed. The station groaned as he passed, as if offended by the idea of effort. Outside, space was its usual self, silent, indifferent, and littered with the remains of civilizations that had once insisted they were permanent. The pod came into view slowly, rotating gently like it was showing off its angles for no one in particular. Burn marks traced its surface. One of the stabilizers was gone. A blinking light on its side pulsed with the enthusiasm of someone pretending everything was fine at a funeral. "Hey there," he said through the external comm. "If you're awake in there, now would be a great time to not be dying." No response. He guided the retrieval arm forward. The mechanical claw extended, hesitated for a moment like it was reconsidering its life choices, then grabbed the pod. A faint vibration ran through his console. The pod was still powered. "That's either very good news," he said, "or the exact opposite of good news wearing a disguise." He pulled it into the airlock. The station groaned again as the lock sealed. It always sounded like it was disappointed in him personally whenever he brought something aboard. "Don't judge me," he told the walls. "You've let in worse." The airlock cycled. When it opened, the pod sat there quietly as if waiting for permission to continue existing. He circled it once. "All right," he said, "let's see what kind of paperwork disaster you are." He pried the manual release. Nothing happened. He sighed. "Of course." He kicked the panel. The pod opened immediately. "Ah," he said, "violence, the universal access key." Inside there was a woman. That was his first coherent thought. The second was that she looked like someone had tried very hard to make a human, and then added one deliberate, elegant mistake. Her features were soft, almost familiar, but her ears, long, slightly curved backward, shifted faintly as if listening to something the station itself couldn't hear. She was unconscious but not slumped, composed even in collapse, like fainting was something she had scheduled between appointments. He stared, then he waved a hand in front of her face. "Nothing. Great," he said, "space princess in distress." "That's exactly what my insurance policy doesn't cover." The AI beeped again, this time sounding suspiciously amused. "Don't start with me," he said. He leaned closer. Her breathing was steady. Too steady for someone who had just been drifting through a debris field in a damaged pod. "Okay," he said softly. "Either you're extremely lucky, extremely dangerous, or extremely expensive." Her eyes opened. He fell backward so fast he nearly rebounded into the ceiling. She blinked once, then twice, then looked directly at him like he was the one who had just crashed into her life at high velocity. "Where," she said calmly, "is the docking authority registry?" He stared. "I'm sorry," he said. That's your first sentence, not help or where am I or please don't sell me for parts. She slowly pushed herself upright, unbothered by the fact that she had just been unconscious in deep space. I am assessing jurisdiction, she said. He pointed at himself. You're in orbital salvage station case 742. She paused. That is not a registered diplomatic facility. No, he agreed. We're more of an enthusiastic recycling concept. She looked around the airlock. Minimal security, outdated propulsion systems. Improvised modifications to life support. He raised a finger. Hey, those modifications are extremely emotional and personally meaningful. She ignored him. You are not military. I am offended by how correct that is. She tilted her head slightly. Her long ears shifted with the motion, faintly reacting to the hum of the station like tuning forks for invisible music. You are also not part of the syndicate fleet, she concluded. That's right, he said. I'm part of the Please Don't Explode Today fleet. For the first time, something like confusion passed over her expression. It lasted half a second. Then she nodded as if that was an acceptable political classification. He exhaled slowly. Okay, he said. Before we go any further, are you injured, hostile, or about to tell me I've accidentally become involved in an interstellar war? She considered this. Yes, she said. He closed his eyes. I hate space, he whispered. The AI beeped softly, almost sympathetically. The woman stepped out of the pod. She moved with careful precision as though gravity was still a polite suggestion she might decline at any moment. Her gaze flicked to the station walls, the wiring, the exposed panels, then to him again. You are alone here? Yes, that is inefficient. Tell me about it. A faint sound echoed through the station, distant, low, like something large adjusting its trajectory. He froze. Okay, he said carefully. Tell me you didn't just bring a tracking beacon with you. She looked at him. I did not intend to be retrieved. That's not a no, it is an incomplete answer. That's worse. The station AI beeped loudly. He glanced at the console. A new signal had appeared, multiple signals approaching fast. He looked back at her. She met his gaze without blinking. Oh, she said softly. He sighed. Yeah, he replied. That's usually how my Tuesdays go. Another pause, then, because apparently the universe liked timing its worst moments for maximum emotional impact, she added, they found me faster than expected. He rubbed his face. Okay, he said, just once in my life I would like to salvage something normal, like a broken toaster. Maybe a mildly haunted microwave. But no, I get runaway space royalty with a fan club that owns warships. Her eyes narrowed slightly. I am not, don't, he said quickly. If you say not royalty, I'm going to start crying and that will make this worse for everyone. A beat. Then unexpectedly she smiled, very faint but real. I am, she said, not supposed to be here. He nodded. Same, he said, honestly relatable. The station shuddered again as distant engines echoed through the debris field. And somewhere deep in the salvage station's aging systems, something that had never been stressed before suddenly became extremely aware that it might be involved in history. It did not like that feeling. Neither did he. But the woman, long-eared, calm, impossibly composed, simply looked toward the incoming signals as if listening to a song only she could hear. And then she said, very quietly, you may want to reconsider your definition of alone. The station had experienced many emergencies in its long, underfunded life. It had survived oxygen leaks, 2 minor AI personality crises, one incident involving a sentient navigation map that tried to escape into deeper meaning, and a brief but deeply uncomfortable phase where the gravity system decided everything should float diagonally. But this was new. The alarm system started with a polite chime. It always started polite, like it still believed manners could prevent catastrophe. Then it escalated into something that sounded like a cat trying to scream in binary. He stared at the central console. Okay, he said slowly, either I'm hallucinating or we just got surrounded. The AI beeped. Yeah, I see them, he muttered. Thanks for the update, Captain Obvious. The woman stood beside him, watching the incoming readings with an unsettling calm. Her long ears angled slightly upward now, subtly shifting as though they were sampling frequencies the station couldn't translate. The effect made her look like she was listening to the universe gossiping behind everyone's back. How many? She asked. He squinted at the display. Let's see, 3, no, wait, 5, actually, why is one of them shaped like a regret? That is a patrol carrier, she said. Of course it is. Another beep from the AI, and what does it want? He asked. Her expression didn't change. Me. He leaned back slightly. Ah, a pause. Then he added, that's not great for my weekend plans. The station shuddered as distant engines adjusted trajectory. The debris field outside lit up in faint pulses of ion wake like glowing scars across space. On the external feed, ships began to emerge. Not just ships, Authority-class vessels, clean lines, too clean, the kind of ships that didn't salvage things, they erased them and called it maintenance. He pointed at the screen. I just want to confirm something, he said. Those are not friendly. They are loyal, she corrected. That's worse. She glanced at him. Why? Because loyal things usually don't accept bribes. The AI beeped again, more urgently this time. A transmission request flashed across the console, then another, and another. The system tried to classify them, failed, tried again, and then gave up in what could only be described as digital exhaustion. He rubbed his face. I swear, he muttered, if they start yelling at me through space, I'm charging per minute. The woman stepped closer to the console. Her fingers hovered over the interface. You should not open communication. I was not planning to, he said. My communication policy is currently ignore everything and hope it gets bored. A faint pulse of light traveled through her ears again like a ripple in still water. They are scanning for my signature, she said. Right, he replied. So we just don't have your signature. She looked at him. I exist. Yeah, unfortunately I noticed. That is sufficient for detection. He paused. Okay, that's new information I wish I didn't understand. Another beep from the AI, this one came with a visual external hull scan locking. They're pinging us, he said. Yes. Can they see inside? She hesitated. Not yet. That yet was very loud. A sharp vibration ran through the station. One of the outer drones, old salvage units bolted together from 3 different generations of junk, came online automatically, reacting to the scan. It turned toward the incoming ships. He pointed at it. Why is Unit 7 waking up? The AI beeped in what sounded suspiciously like panic. I did not authorize emotional defense protocols, he said. The woman tilted her head slightly. Your systems are unstable. Hey, he said, they're creatively independent. Another vibration, now 2 drones activated, then 3. They lined up along the station's exterior like extremely confused insects deciding whether something was food or philosophy. He groaned. Of course the one time I need my hardware to stay asleep, it develops initiative. The woman watched them. They are responding to threat proximity. Yeah, he said. They also respond to loud noises, loneliness, and sometimes jazz music. It's not a perfect system. A transmission finally broke through. The console speakers crackled. A voice entered the station like a knife wrapped in bureaucracy. Unregistered salvage installation, it said. You are harboring a high-priority asset. Surrender immediately. He leaned toward the microphone. Hi, he said. Before we continue, is this one of those situations where you threaten me, or one of those where you threaten me but with extra paperwork? Silence. Then, this is your final warning. He nodded. Ah, the classic edition. He turned to the woman. Okay, he said quietly, just checking, are we doing the part where I hand you over and survive, or the part where I don't and probably become an inspirational cautionary tale? She looked at him for a long moment. Her ears shifted again, subtly tightening their angle. I was not supposed to involve civilians, she said. That sounds like a yes disguised as a tragedy. She ignored that. You will be granted immunity if you comply. He blinked. Wow, generous. Then he pointed at the window. And if I do, another voice cut into the channel, this one colder, then you will be considered complicit. He sighed. I hate when they upgrade from please to complicit. It's so formal, really ruins the vibe. The station shuddered again. External drones fired a warning burst, non-lethal plasma arcs that illuminated the debris field like artificial lightning. The approaching ships did not respond. They were waiting. He didn't like waiting ships. Waiting ships were always about to stop waiting. The woman stepped away from the console. I must leave the station, she said. He stared at her. Okay, I need you to understand something, he said. This station is currently held together by hope, spare bolts, and an argument I once had with a welding torch. If you leave, I will personally become space debris emotionally. She blinked. That is an unusual security strategy. It's my signature style. Another transmission came through, this one attempting encryption bypass. The AI beeped in distress. Then something unexpected happened. The woman's ears flickered. A new signal threaded through the station systems. Every screen flickered once, then stabilized. The incoming transmission froze. He stared at the console. Did you just pause a military signal? She hesitated. I did not intend to. That's not comforting. She looked down at her hands. My neural interface is still syncing with local quantum noise, she said. The station's salvage grid is noisy. He narrowed his eyes. Are you saying my station is loud? It is expressive. I'll take that as a compliment. The transmission resumed suddenly like a breath being released, but now something had changed. The drones outside stopped moving. They hesitated. He frowned. Why are they hesitating? She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze went distant. Then she said softly, they are recognizing me. A beat. That is bad, he said. Yes. Another beat. How bad? Her ears tilted slightly backward. Historically catastrophic. He exhaled. Okay, he said, rubbing his temples. I was hoping you'd say mild inconvenience, but I respect your commitment to honesty. The AI beeped urgently. A new alert flashed. Incoming jump signature detected. He froze. Wait, he said. They're jumping into the field? She nodded. They are not waiting anymore. The space outside warped. Reality folded like it had received a strongly worded request. A larger vessel began to emerge, heavier, more deliberate, its hull marked with symbols that didn't translate so much as insist. He stared. Okay, he said quietly, that one looks like it pays taxes in fear. The woman watched it arrive. Her expression tightened for the first time, not fear, recognition. They brought a retrieval authority ship, she said. Of course they did, he replied. Because nothing says family drama like a ship that can delete smaller ships by clearing its throat. The console flickered again. Another transmission attempt. This time it bypassed all systems. It appeared directly on every screen. A single message. Return the princess. He stared at it, then at her, then back at the message. Okay, he said slowly. I feel like we should have established earlier that you were a princess before the warships showed up with dramatic font settings. She exhaled quietly. I did not wish to be identified by title. Yeah, he said. Well, congratulations. The universe disagreed. The station lights dimmed. External systems began to reroute power automatically. The salvage drones outside reoriented again, now facing the larger ship. He swallowed. So, he said, forcing a small grin, on a scale from 1 to we are about to become a historical footnote. Where are we? She looked at him. And for the first time since he found her drifting in the pod, her calm cracked just slightly, not into panic but into something heavier. Responsibility. Closer, she said, to diplomacy failure. He nodded. Great. My favorite kind of failure. A pause, then he added, do you at least get good severance in diplomacy failure, or is it just explosive? The faintest hint of a smile returned to her face. I will try to ensure it is neither. The station shuddered as the retrieval ship fully arrived. And somewhere deep in its aging systems, orbital salvage station K-742 made a quiet decision. It was done being ignored. The drones outside activated in unison. And the universe, for a brief moment, prepared to negotiate with junk that refused to stay junk. The station went very quiet right before it usually decided to explode. He had noticed this pattern over time, first the silence, then the very polite alarms, then the less polite alarms, then something on fire, then, if the universe was feeling creative, a new tax bracket for surviving the experience. Right now, orbital salvage station K-742 was in the deeply respectful silence phase. Outside the viewport, the retrieval authority ship hung like a judgment that had learned how to fly. Smaller ships circled it in disciplined arcs, their engines cutting through debris fields as if space itself had agreed to move aside. Inside, he checked the power distribution panel, then checked it again. Then tapped it like that might improve its political stance. You know, he said, I always thought my biggest enemy in life would be debt or maybe bad coffee. turns out it's interstellar monarchy. The AI beeped softly, almost apologetic. The woman stood near the center console. She wasn't touching anything now. Her long ears were angled slightly forward, and he had learned by now that meant she was listening to something very far away and very organized. She looked different, not less calm, never less calm, but focused in a way that made the air around her feel tighter, like reality was remembering her name. They will initiate extraction protocols, she said. Define extraction, he replied. Because last time someone used that word near me, I lost a cargo bay and most of my dignity. They will attempt to remove me, she said, with force if required. He leaned on the console. Okay, follow-up question. Are we in the I step aside and pretend I didn't see anything phase, or the we improvise a miracle with broken machinery and questionable optimism phase? She looked at him for a moment. Then said, the second. He sighed. Of course it's the second. I was hoping for a quiet hobby phase like knitting or dying peacefully. A sharp pulse ran through the station. The retrieval ship opened a channel again. This time there was no greeting, only command. Stand down, release the asset. He scratched his head. I feel like they're really leaning into the word asset like it's going to make this less weird. The woman stepped forward, opened the channel. He blinked. Are you sure? Because my experience with authority ships is they either yell, threaten, or do both while ignoring basic conversational etiquette. Open it, she said. He hesitated, then shrugged. All right. But if they start shouting, I'm muting them emotionally. He rooted the comms. The same cold voice returned. Princess Elira of House Valen, it said, by decree of the Stellar Conquered, you are to be returned immediately. He glanced at her. Elira, he repeated quietly. She didn't correct him. Instead, she stepped closer to the console and spoke. I hear you. The voice paused, a rare thing. Even authority ships didn't like being interrupted by someone they were actively hunting. You will cease interference, the voice continued. Elira tilted her head slightly. Her ears shifted, and for a moment the entire station's lights flickered as if reacting to her presence. I will not return under forced consolidation terms, she said. The retrieval ship answered immediately. Your union was ratified. He coughed. Union, he whispered. That sounds like marriage but with corporate branding. Elira's expression tightened. It was not consented. Silence. Even the AI stopped beeping for half a second, which was its version of holding its breath. The retrieval ship responded. Your biological signature is required for stabilization of treaty alliance. He raised a hand. Just to clarify, he said into the comm, you're saying the entire galaxy is one bad engagement away from a diplomatic recession. No response? Elira looked at him. That is close, she said. He nodded slowly. I hate how often I understand space politics through relationship metaphors. Outside, the drones of the salvage station activated fully now. Not the patched-together ones that had been sulking earlier, but the deeper layer systems, old defense frames welded into salvage rigs, forgotten by regulations and therefore extremely creative. They drifted outward like slow, determined thoughts. The retrieval ship noticed. Cease unauthorized defense activity, the voice ordered. He looked at the drones, then at the ship, then at Elira. I think, he said carefully, your fiancé's ship is about to argue with my collection of emotionally unstable scrap metal. Elira almost smiled, almost. They are not my fiancé, she said. Good, he replied. Because I was about to say I've seen healthier relationship dynamics in broken vending machines. The retrieval ship deployed a formation. Smaller interceptor craft poured out, aligning like metallic arrows. The station AI beeped rapidly. Yeah, he said, I see it. We're officially in the bad day category. Elira closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, something had changed. Her ears began to pulse faintly, not visibly moving, but resonating with a frequency that made the console screens shimmer. The station responded, not the systems he built, something deeper, the salvage grid. The hidden mesh of quantum-locked junk telemetry stitched together over years of forgotten debris. Elira spoke softly. I can interface with their command lattice, she said. He blinked. Of course you can. That is not normal, she added. Nothing about this situation is normal, he said. My coffee machine is still technically classified as hazardous waste. She extended her hand toward the console. The station lights dimmed again. Outside, something shifted. The interceptors hesitated mid-formation. He frowned. Are they pausing? Yes, she said. Why? They are hearing conflicting authority signals. He stared. So you're hacking them with your ears. She considered. That is an imprecise but functional interpretation. He nodded slowly. I would like it officially recorded that I am both impressed and slightly terrified. The retrieval ship attempted a hard override. A pulse of command code shot across the field. The station shuddered. For a moment, Elira staggered. He caught her instinctively before she could fall. You good? He asked. She breathed once. Yes, then added, they are stronger than expected. He looked at the ship. Yeah, he said. Well, I'm stronger than expected too. Unfortunately, I'm mostly strong in emotional disappointment and improvisation. The AI beeped loudly. A new route opened on the console, a jump corridor. Unstable, illegal, probably invented by someone who hated physics. He blinked. Is that ours? The AI beeped twice. Of course it is, he said. We are officially in the phase of reality where rules are optional. Elira looked at the corridor. You could escape, she said. He laughed once. Escape from what exactly? My rent is already in space debris. She turned to him. You are not required to assist me further. He looked at her. Then at the station, at the broken panels, the stubborn drones, the coffee machine that had survived everything out of spite, then back at her. You know, he said, when I pulled you out of that pod, I thought I was just salvaging junk. A pause. I didn't realize I'd found the galaxy's worst business deal. That earned a real smile this time. Small, brief, but real, he exhaled. Besides, he added, if I let you walk into that ship alone, my station's reputation would never recover. And I have a brand to maintain. You have no brand, she said. Exactly, he replied. I'm building one. The retrieval ship initiated final approach. The drones moved to intercept. Elira stepped forward again, placing both hands on the console. The station hummed. Every broken system, every salvaged circuit, every half-dead AI fragment aligned for a moment like they had been waiting for this specific kind of disaster. Elira spoke into the lattice, not words, signal. The entire field reacted. The interceptors froze, then turned, not against the station, but away. The retrieval ship's formation wavered. What did you do? He asked. I redirected their command hierarchy, she said. He stared. You just convinced an entire fleet to ignore their boss. I redefined authority priority, she corrected. He nodded slowly. That sounds like something HR would describe right before firing everyone. A beat. Then the retrieval ship's voice returned, not angry now, confused. Princess Elira, it said, you are destabilizing conquered integration. She replied calmly, I am ending it. Silence. Then the command ship began to retreat, not destroyed, not defeated, just redirected, as if someone had quietly convinced it that it had better things to do elsewhere. The interceptors followed. One by one, the field cleared, the station stopped shaking, and suddenly the universe remembered how to be quiet again. He exhaled. So